assent, they can very quickly, with overwhelming number, override the president's refusal of assent. But they haven't done so. So the institutional support that they need, which they themselves should feel an urgency to put in place, they are not doing it. So they don't have a National Assembly Budget and Research Office. The other institution that should be providing training for members of the National Assembly, what is it called? The NASS, or now it has added democracy to its name, is not fulfilling that role as well. It's not providing training for its staff. It's not providing training for members in the way that would enhance their capacity to deliver on legislation.
So and I would like to talk about this issue you just brought up now. When you now then come to look at it, the National Assembly is supposed to help ensure that governance runs. And it's in more way than one supposed to be the people's representative that fills the pulse and so puts the executive on check. If we're to look at the National Assembly right now, how well can we say it is helping to further good governance?
I think the National Assembly is doing a lot. Again, I would say that in a government, in a system, the difference really between a dictatorship and a democracy is the National Assembly, is the legislature. Yes. And if we didn't have the legislature, we would be in a terrible democracy, especially the nature of the government we have in place today. So I think, quite frankly, that the National Assembly is doing its bit, but the other issues, oversight, lawmaking, civil society groups are able to engage with legislators and draw attention to policy and legislative gaps, and some members of the National Assembly are able to take this on. They could do much better. They could do much better. But I would say on the overall that the legislature is doing a great job. It needs to be strengthened. The bureaucracy of the legislature needs to be strengthened. The staff need to get better training. They need to get a lot more in terms of capacity development than they are getting right now. And I hear people say a lot about the budget of the National Assembly. There are challenges. I think that perhaps it's more a question of the use of the resources, not the numbers that we see.
Or not the size of it.
Not the size of the budget. I think that the size that they have, if well applied, the committees, for instance, need to be very well strengthened. And when people say National Assembly, legislative business should be a part-time business, they don't understand how the legislature works when they say that. Because I see that a lot of members spend more time doing work in committees and even sitting in plenaries. So it's not a question of how many days they sit in a week. Some say, oh, they sit from Tuesday to Thursday. The rest of the days they're doing nothing. That's absolutely incorrect. The serious-minded legislators, and there are quite a few of them in the National Assembly, they are working in committees, they are writing up bills, they are looking up bills, they are doing oversight, and they are meeting with constituents, and that's a lot.
So if you wanted to round it up in a few words, Nigeria, the National Assembly in the future, what would you say?
I think we have to invest a lot more in the National Assembly. Not so much in terms of money, but in terms of Nigerians themselves deciding that whoever wants to represent them should have the capacity and quality of what a legislature should be. So people need to be very circumspect in deciding who they vote into the National Assembly. Secondly, we need to begin to ask the executive questions of what it is doing and the nature of its relationship with the National Assembly, because a lot of times the executive also joins in demonizing the National Assembly for its own profit. Because if they can get the people and the National Assembly at odds with each other, they can then continue in their impunity of executive governance. So we need to get a more responsible executive to understand that the legislature is a critical arm of government, and the work that they do should complement.
So, how will you rate the National Assembly? What features will you be highlighting? Well, let's have your views, and remember, use the hashtag NASS at 58, hashtag NASS at 58. Remember, it can be commendations, suggestions, whatever. Just send it in. Well, plenary session is to resume on the 9th of October, and the lawmakers have a lot to consider, from the amendment to the Electoral Act to the budget for next year's elections, a lot. So we should have a lot for you here on the program when we come next. Well, on this episode, it's at this point that we will be dropping the gavel today. Thanks for staying with me. I'm Lanre Lasisi. Take care.